Hey guys, welcome to the Roundtable. I'm Amir.
I'm Tim.
I'm Brian.
I'm Jason.
That was not the usual order.
No, it wasn't.
We
Keep
just
going.
mixed it up in a good way.
Okay, fine. We're talking this time
that was-
about our ideal game and what that might be, or games that might have come close.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was your topic idea again.
Yeah. So I just thought it might be fun
Good
to
choice.
kind of talk about, ideal games and such.
Yeah.
Because we all have games that we enjoy, right? We have games that we're enjoying right now, games that we have enjoyed in the past, and games that we hope we'll enjoy in the future. But if we could just have that perfect
game.
That perfect game, what would that actually look like?
You stumped me for a week. Because we were supposed to do the ideal game last week.
Uh-huh.
But we talked about Destiny instead. We decided that we were going to talk about Destiny, which was awesome. I had a lot of fun. And everybody got to learn the Chicken Kicker's secret.
Yeah.
If you didn't, you should see the Destiny show. But yeah, I was stumped all week. I was like, wow, what is my ideal game? Is there such a thing as a perfect game? And what would that be like?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like an easy question at first, and I think I kind of hit the wall like what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know if because then there's genres too. It's
Exactly.
like, what's the perfect adventure game?
You have different moods.
I would be in on that, but well, you had brought up the topic, so I'm sure you had something in mind.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you have in mind?
No, I had in mind to just talk about it.
Oh.
Well, no, because I was
I'm stumped.
Yeah, no.
So I want everybody else.
Well, no, that's why the question, it came to mind. It's just like, well, what would that entail? It's just like, what kind of qualities would the ideal game need to have to live up to that moniker, right?
Right.
It's not like we can go back to ancient Greece and talk to Plato and just be like, okay, so there's these things called video games, and I know you're good with this whole ideal forms thing. Can you tell me what an ideal? Explain video games, and you tell me what the ideal. We can't really do that. No. Not that would work anyway. Especially with the chronoton flux. You understand that?
No, I don't.
But
I'll pretend
you watch
to.
Star Trek Voyager.
Not a joke.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Chronotons. I don't think chronotons. I don't think
I like croutons on my
chronotons
salad.
or midichlorians are important for an ideal game. But at the same time, I don't know. Like for me, I'm not sure if an ideal game would be a game that would be the only game that I would ever play again. Like I'm not sure that would necessarily be the ideal game. I think the ideal game for me would have to be something that I could always come back to. Okay. And enjoy. Actually, if I could come back to it and play it again as if it were the first time.
Ooh.
Whenever I wanted, I could just, go into and it would be like the first time again. Then I think it would have to have.
We're talking
that
about
quality.
video games, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What are you talking about, Amir?
Bomb chicka wah wah. While I was trying to figure out what my ideal game was, I thought about another word, which was masterpiece, because I needed an example of what came really close to being my ideal game.
That's a good strategy.
In order to say, okay, this is what I would enjoy the most. And what's funny is that at first I thought it would be a game that I would be willing to play for years and years and years and come back to.
Yeah.
But then I realized I'm never going to get that first impression back. And so what I want is a game that's so impactful, I guess is the word, that that ingrains itself so into my memory that I won't forget how much I enjoyed playing it. And the first game that came to mind with the word masterpiece was The Last of Us. Mm-hmm. And The Last of Us for me was a masterpiece because I'm a lover of art. So they got this, I keep forgetting his name, but they got this musician from, was it Portugal or Brazil? I don't know where. Sorry, I'm screwing this all up, but they got this musician. The music was amazing. Yep. Presentation was amazing. Gameplay was great. It suffered from a few cliches, video game cliches, like there's only 3 or 4 different types of enemies, and then you have these. And of course, if you want to beat the more powerful enemies, you just kind of have to run around and do pop shots. But Last of Us to me was the masterpiece and the closest to it. And so for me, I think an ideal game would be something like that, something that presentation-wise immerses me, makes me really feel like I'm in that world, be scared of whatever I need to confront and actually feel, that fear, whether it's a stealth part or an action part. Something that doesn't backtrack. That's one of the things that I loved about The Last of Us is that it's always moving forward. And the story's always moving forward. top-notch voice acting, top-notch animations, and actual physical acting, like I saw the making of, and they're all amazing. They also did this live performance, which I thought was
Oh yeah, that was really
unbelievable.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't expect it of any of them. To me, the ideal game is not something that I'll always come back to. The ideal game is a game I'll never forget. And The Last of Us for the last generation was that. But if we go back to, you're going to love this, if we go back to Metal Gear Solid, the first one, yeah, that's another one. I mean, it's aged poorly graphically, you know, like if we look back on it, even when it came out, I remember I was like, oh, Solid Snake doesn't have a face. You know, but
You
how
wanted
it
to
made
remain
you feel,
anonymous.
you know, like I remember having friends around me after I killed Sniper Wolf, and they've already been silent for like an hour watching me play because they were so into it. And we're like, no, just keep playing. And then I killed Sniper Wolf, and we were all like
Crying.
all crying.
Mm-hmm.
And memories like that, to me, an ideal game is going to make that kind of impression.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about nostalgia and, going back and when I think of the best games I've ever played, almost all of them come from my younger days as a kid. I don't know. I'm not sure I can ever really get to that point again because I think video games meant a different thing to me back then than they do now. What I think of first and foremost is genre. Like, for instance, I agree with you that The Last of Us was a masterpiece game, but it's not my genre of game, right? It's not what I'm going to go to. And that kind of draws up another question, which is, do we want to approach it in terms of what mood you're in? So I think that there could be a lot of different genres, especially for me, that an ideal game would have, but each one of those would still have a lot of the same qualities. I think an engaging storyline. I don't like my games to be too linear, and it's just got to play well. I mean, it's got to be fun. I mean, that's the key. Always, I think. It's kind of the thing with Destiny. It's missing a lot of things, but one thing about it.
The game
it's
that
fun
shall
to
not
play.
be named.
So.
We're trying desperately to do something other than play Destiny right now. You had to bring it up.
I mean, it's going to be brought up. Allison is over there playing Destiny right now.
You didn't have to mention it.
Why? I didn't,
Don't make me get my Vita back out. I
just
swear to God.
turned it off.
Did you turn off Destiny?
no, she
That's
didn't.
blasphemy.
No, it's just a loading screen. It's easy to mistake the two.
So before we started this roundtable, we were actually recording a Let's Play of Destiny where Jason was playing Destiny and we were just all like kind of watching him play and commenting and everything. But you're not going to see that gameplay.
No.
Because I never recorded the gameplay. I just recorded our voices. So, yeah.
Oh well.
But that was pretty awesome when we found out. Like, oh.
You know what's pretty awesome? I didn't record any video.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, Amir. Good job. Great job. So what do you think, Jason?
I don't know. It depends because, see, like, the older I get, everything changes.
Yeah.
Because, things I thought I loved when I was a kid compared to when I was a teenager, compared to when I was in my 20s and early 20s and up to now, it changed. I don't want to say it's because I've gotten jaded, but just because I'm an all-around. I'll play anything and everything. God knows y'all seen it. And I generally can pick up a game, and within a couple hours I can generally be able to finagle it and be pretty good at it. I mean, that's how I'll do, like, on fighters. Like, I didn't know, about 2 years ago, my friend Chris, we were all meeting for Third Strike, and I didn't play. I played Street Fighter, so I knew the basics, but I didn't know anything about Third Strike. Within a week, I was already starting to match as good as they were, because I pushed myself to do it. But, I don't know. It really depends to me because I like the old Nintendo games, and I think about the old games I loved when growing up, like the Ninja Gaiden games. I love those. And I wasn't really big into RPGs then, but of course once I hit my teen years, that's when I started playing, of course, the game that got me into RPGs, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
But it got me into, it broadened my view to where I could play even better games. And I still love 7 for what it was.
Yeah.
But I mean, my taste changed. I'll play everything and anything, but honestly, right now, the ones that I kind of think of what would be to me sticks out the most in my mind. The ones that I can, like what Amir said, can go back to it, can enjoy it. It's not necessarily going to be to the point of like, oh, it's like the first time I've played it, but it's enough to where I can enjoy it and I can think, I want to play that again. I want to play that again. One of them, the ones that are sticking out in my mind a lot right now, are anything made by Bethesda. Because God, I've been wanting to play Fallout 3 again. And, I mean, Oblivion was great, but seeing that massive improvement from Oblivion to Skyrim. Yeah, and that's what I cannot wait.
That's a huge improvement.
But even then, though, because remember, Oblivion came out first, and then Fallout 3 came out. And there was a massive upgrade there. So, and then from Fallout 3 to Skyrim, was an even bigger upgrade. What's Fallout 4 going to be?
Yeah.
Oh. Very true.
And that's what I can't wait, because I love Skyrim, but I really enjoyed Fallout 3. There was to the point I was literally this far away from platining it, and then all the DLC dropped. And you are freaking kidding me. I was literally 3 trophies away.
Yeah.
And I was like, you son of a bitch.
Fallout is one of those games that I feel, as great as Fallout 3 was, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, but Fallout New Vegas, to me, was horrible. It was the same game, but I really disliked New Vegas. Because Fallout 3 had its moments where it took itself seriously, but it had its comedic moments in there. So you could get immersed, and then you could have a good chuckle, a good laugh. Yeah. New Vegas seemed like it was always a good laugh. And it was just like, hey, come here and have a good time. But there was no weight to, the whole, you're post-apocalyptic,
Well, if I remember right, Bethesda really didn't have anything to do with it? Because they kind of just sourced it out to someone else. Because it was another company. They were like, here's the engine, here's everything about it, and you can use it for
that. Well, that makes sense then.
But to be honest, I've not played it. I have it because I've got. There was a couple months ago they did a sale on Steam where it was like you could get both Fallout 3 and New Vegas, the Game of the Year editions. I think I literally picked them both up for $5. So I was like, "Oh,
nice,
of course, let's Steam." Yeah. So of course,
totally.
But I played maybe 2 hours of it because I was playing it late one night on a Friday night, and I mean I liked it for what it was, but it's not Fallout 3. I liked 3 a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. Just Fallout 3, I feel like hooked you right away because you started out as the baby, and I was like, oh my god, this is so brilliant for setting the bed for what your character is going to be and the abilities and the things that you're going to be pushing for. So, this is so brilliant. But New Vegas didn't have that powerful start, and it didn't have the and because of that, it didn't have the powerful story, and it was essentially the same game, and so it became less about the gameplay mechanic because you've been there, done that, and it became more about this story is not so interesting. So it was difficult for me to play through, but I was able to beat it. And then at the end, I was like, oh, that totally wasn't worth my time. Fallout 3 though, I played twice, and that's one of those very few role-playing games. Role-playing games, it is or at least I know I've played an amazing role-playing game if I will play a large role-playing game twice. Or like Mass Effect series I know is amazing because it's the only RPG I could say I've ever played 7 times.
But people like me, I played Fallout 3. I can't even tell you Fallout and Skyrim. I can't even tell you how many times I played it because I'll play it as one way and then I'll go, okay, I want to start it over. I'm going to play it a completely different way. I usually the first time I always start off, I play a stealthy, not necessarily a thief, but a stealthy long range killer. Then I'll go, well, I'm going to go brawler. And something like that, because Skyrim first was an archer thief, second was a tank, the third was a mage. I've played through Skyrim at least 3-4 times because it's never your same game twice.
I've had to start over Skyrim at least 8 times. My wife would accidentally,
of course,
save over my character. But I got really good at making the same character.
That's love. That's love.
Amir, I thought of something a second ago. It's very off topic. Have you played Doom yet?
No, I still have it sealed on the shelf because everybody knows the answer. Because Destiny.
That and you move too, technically.
Yeah, and you move.
Yeah,
okay. Oh yeah, but I loved I wanted to check out Doom enough for me to race straight to my old house because I shipped it to the wrong house.
Right.
I have a habit of doing this.
Yes.
So I shipped it to the wrong house and raced over there to pick it up to bring it here before the wife could see that I ordered something. But, another part to my ideal game, I think, is scale. I really want to feel, like you said, you don't want it to be linear. I do want, story-wise, I want it to be linear because I don't feel that in a sandbox environment a good story could be told. So I definitely want, at least when it comes to the story element, for it to be linear and for maybe branch a little bit with decisions that I make. And speaking of Mass Effect, which is why I mentioned Mass Effect, that was another game that came up for me as what would be ideal, is that I don't want to just make decisions on a menu, as to where I'm going to take my character. And I don't just want to make those decisions through gear or through weapons. I would like to do it through dialogue. I would like to get to know my character while I'm getting to know other characters in the game, and simultaneously be able to pick the direction that I'm going and take that story in that direction. And as far as scale, the thing that was great about Mass Effect is that Mass Effect, in comparison to what it says it is very small. Because, I mean, what are you doing with the planets even in Mass Effect 1? You're dropping on a planet. It's a really tiny little area where you drive around with the Mako, maybe go inside and kill a couple of people in a building, and then you're off the planet. But if we had that really large scale, like what No Man's Sky promises to be, but you have this really deep linear narrative that you can branch out and control through dialogue, and have that strong action element that you would see in something like Destiny.
Yeah.
But you would have that really immersive, high-quality storytelling experience of The Last of Us, and elements that are not just action, but things that would actually invoke fear. If you have all of those together and you're playing with all of those emotions and you have that major scale and you're putting all of these art assets into it that really tells you that this is like a major production, that to me I think would be ideal.
Yeah, a game that I played that I really liked, that I thought did a great job of being linear in the storyline and the way it was told, or the way the storyline develops, but still not feeling linear at all. Seeing a lot of different environments was Final Fantasy X.
Yes,
I thought that was this really nice blend of. Well, it's not even a blend. I mean, there's no free roaming necessarily.
Yeah, it's totally linear, but you don't feel it.
It doesn't feel like it at all.
Nope.
Well, if I had my druthers and I could just make up whatever game I wanted, I would like to see an adaptive story, not just one where I can make choices and interact and whatnot, but something that we're seeing a glimpse of right now with that Shadow of Mordor game just came out, the Nemesis system.
Yes.
Where whether you succeed or fail, that actually affects like the enemies that you fight later on.
Yeah.
And that
it is brilliant.
It's not just you progressing, but all of the the other characters are progressing through their own sort of. And I guess that's what it hints at for me, is just like, well, I'm progressing through this story or campaign or whatever it is, but the other characters are also going through their own stories at the same time, and I'm interacting with them, and with the additional computational power that we're getting, whether it's through a cloud server farm, or if it's a new box that can encompass a lot of that, they can get more and more complex with what the game can adapt to and what it can listen for and watch for, and where you go, like what planet. Like, can you imagine Mass Effect, where because you scanned this planet, not this planet, that actually affected the location of your next story mission, and it affected actually who you would talk to, what they would say, what happened, and on the fly. Like, it's it's still the next step in the story, but it's almost never the same story twice.
And gives sense. What I like about Mordor is that it also gives sense to you dying.
Yeah.
It's like you died, and they don't say, it's not a game over screen. It doesn't just say you died and then you try again. It's you died. And this person got promoted because he killed you, and now you're coming back. And and I would love to see something like that, like in that scene in Mass Effect 2, where he dies on the ship, and then Cerberus takes him and then rebuilds him.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
Within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, within the first month. But stuff like that. Like acknowledge the fact that I got hurt.
Wait a minute. There's somebody who's listening right now who's playing through the first Mass Effect, who's never played through the series, is just playing through the first Mass Effect, and they just stopped. And they just put the controller down. And they just...
I'm gonna die anyway! I don't know why the distortion needed to be in my voice for that, but...
Anyway. But yeah, anyway, please continue. But yeah, that would be...
Yeah, acknowledge all... And the thing with video games that I don't mind, like, what was the name of that? Sleeping Dogs. Mm-hmm. Sleeping Dogs was almost blatant in that it borrowed mechanics from everybody else. Mm-hmm. It had the driving element from Grand Theft Auto, but improved on it from another game by having where you need to go right in front of you, so that you don't have to go into a mini map. The fighting was totally from the Arkham series. Mm-hmm. It just borrowed a lot from everybody. But when you put it together, it was like, oh, this is actually pretty awesome. Even the assets of the city, you could kind of tell they came from Deus Ex. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it borrows a little bit from everybody. I even remember reading a couple of reviews that said that. They were like, yeah, it borrows a lot from everything else that, but it doesn't do it as good, but it does it good enough where when it puts it all together, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it was. I didn't like the driving mechanics or whatever, but that's just being picky. But I don't mind a game that picks from everything. So yeah, that's one of the things that kind of bothers me. L.A. Noire had the whole facial capture thing. I think they were one of the first to do that whole real detailed facial capture thing. And of course, because of that, they focused on the whole you're a detective and you need to see if somebody's lying, and it's all about their voice acting. It wasn't done all that great, but it was still something new, and we saw it. We were like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. And I enjoyed it somewhat, and now we saw a lot of that in other games now. We know that Hideo Kojima for Metal Gear Solid 5 showed a lot of the tech stuff. He showed that how they modeled Kiefer Sutherland's face and how they're capturing differently now. And even the sports games. I mean, NBA 2K15 is now doing all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it moves forward, but there are some games. Well, I can't name any because I wasn't that prepared, but Mordor, for example, Shadow of Mordor, has the Nemesis mechanic.
Right.
Well, let's move games forward. It's like, hey, these guys did it. Let's, start utilizing that kind of technology. How did they get this done? How can we get this done? And let's start moving video games forward that way. Kind of like we did by getting rid of the game over screen. Mm-hmm. And the frustration of pressing continue or starting from the beginning of a level and putting checkpoints.
Yeah, or being able to save it in the middle of the game and all that kind of stuff.
I almost wish all games and all developers were just like, hey, we developed this. It's really cool. We made our money. It's a year later here.
Yeah, but also
build on that.
But also, I think a few games get around it, and because I like the original game over screen, but kind of how they changed it. Like, I mean, the original Resident Evil, instead of saying game over, it's you died.
Yeah.
It's just straight up, you're dead. And
yeah.
not
and
only that,
cute.
you're being eaten while you're doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rogue Legacy does that really well too. I really like.
I still haven't played it.
Oh man,
I really.
I think I might. I mentioned I wanted to do a review. I haven't beaten it yet, but I think I might do Rogue Legacy.
Is that the game you want to do a review?
Maybe. Well, maybe. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. Well, dude, if you're down for reviews, I'm
you're gonna have,
everybody's down for having it.
You're gonna have to do 80. Like where you get a sentence in, and then you just sort of trail off, and then you come back. You get a paragraph in, you just trail off. Then you come, but then
get
the
a little
third
farther
one,
every time.
Yeah, the third one though is in a bigger font size. Anyway,
it's italicized.
Yeah, it's different each time. Your review should
it's on the top of the paper, upside down.
That's it. Oh yeah, exactly, and backwards.
Yeah. And how can we really review a game? I mean, like.
Yeah, we can't stop playing Destiny. We're barely doing this round table.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Barely. I mean, we have Destiny on the screen right now.
Yeah, I know, and we're all just like,
what? Yeah.
But no, I mean, not only that though, but I mean, I think you also need to count in fact. I mean, like not only that, like your ideal game, like y'all are talking mostly about story games and things that impact your life, but also taking effect of like things that'll give lasting memories, not just from story, but from also playing game Like some right now that stick out in my mind is the games that back when me and my LAN group would get together and we'd play like Quake 4 Deathmatch constantly, or back when we were playing
Counter-Strike,
but also like I loved RTSs and I still do because I really enjoy StarCraft 2 and I always loved. Of course, Civ, which it's more in detail, more.
I'd say Civ.
It's about like that, but also like the action-based ones like StarCraft or even the Dawn of War series for the 40K that they did. It was very good for the LAN group because it was all about action as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So, those leave lasting memories, and that's an ideal game for me, too, because it's a good multiplayer game, doesn't take much, and, I have great memories thinking about it. And then, also, there's other games that, to me, it might not have been the most innovative game, it might have not had the most memorable story, but like just certain things like hell, when I remember hearing that they released were working on Arkham Asylum, as soon as I heard the cast that they were bringing the animated series cast in, I was sold. I didn't even see screenshots. I said they have
Kevin Conroy,
Mark Hamill,
and I just immediately thought back to my childhood watching an animated series, which thanks to Allison, I own the whole DVD series. Which
I'm about to start marathoning like Batman animated series now.
They need to bring the Man-Bat into the video games somehow. That guy was awesome. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
Yeah,
like more Bat than Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that guy was great.
That would be awesome. Who knows? Maybe.
Well, everything.
What is it? Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight. Maybe.
Well, you don't know with everything, all the other stories that come out. Eventually they'll probably throw in the Red Hood.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of you have seen or read the comics or anything like that, but I wouldn't mind seeing possibly a little bit of Frank Miller thrown in, or even eventually Batman Beyond, because that series was not received well, but is an amazing series.
Yeah, and I am kind of concerned about the franchise because obviously the Arkham franchise is very successful. It makes a lot of money, and we already know that Rocksteady said they would like for it to be the last.
Well, they said that with like the city,
but they also said that like they hope the publisher won't give it to another developer to continue because they'd like to leave off on a high note. But we already know that's. When it's a business, if a publisher is making good money
to be made.
You've got a successful franchise, you have all these assets, you have that code. You're gonna keep it going.
Yeah.
Well, I think they could take that formula and move into a brand new IP.
But maybe the guys from Batman Origins, from all the
Mm-hmm.
problems that game has had, it was kind of like their first
slip.
Yeah, it was their first opportunity to do a Batman game, so maybe they'll do a lot better.
Well, but to that point though, it is the recognition that it's an Arkham game or that it's a Batman game. Because if the recognition is more that it's a new Batman game and Batman games are awesome, then I don't see a problem for Rocksteady necessarily.
Yeah.
The Arkham series can be its own thing, just like the Chris Nolan Batmans are that was it. We had a trilogy, and now Batman is coming back in another form.
On to Ben Affleck.
We had.
It's going to actually. It's blatantly obvious if you read anything in about that movie.
Yeah.
It's the Justice League movie. That's all that is.
No, yeah, it's prepping for the Justice League so they can cash in on the success of the Avengers. Right. So, and we saw that with Spider-Man.
It should be called World's Finest. I don't know what this Batman versus Superman crap is. But,
because those are the most popular characters.
Well, they were hinting at Public Enemy.
No, World's Finest. Did you read those? Like that series?
No, but if you
Batman
say...
and Superman?
But if you go...
And Wonder Woman?
Mm-hmm. But if you go to Joe Schmo on the street and you say, hey, would you like to see the World's Finest movie? And just like, what's that? And you say, would you like to see Batman versus Superman? Yeah, I think I'd go to see that. Like, that's why. That's the only reason. Yeah. It's marketing. But anyway, like I say, we saw the same thing with Spider-Man. We saw a Spider-Man trilogy, and then we saw The Amazing Spider-Man. Comics have been doing this for a while, though. It's just like you change writers, you change artists, and then you keep the character, but you change, like the title, you change the frame that the character exists in.
Because you gotta, just as that analogy, that's also based off of who owns it.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man's owned by Sony. It's not owned by Marvel. That's why it constantly gets rebooted, is because they have to keep it under their name.
Right.
That's why
part of the
initial trilogy was done, and then they rebooted it. Well, not only because Sam Raimi and because of how 3 kind of flopped, and mainly because they forced them to do it. If you actually read anything, he didn't want to do it, and he wanted to give Venom the way he deserved.
Uh-huh.
But they forced him to do it, and it kind of burned him out, and he was done.
Yeah.
So they rebooted it, which the first one wasn't bad of the reboot, but I haven't seen the second one.
Yeah, the third one was really bad.
It was very campy.
But
yeah.
the remake, the Amazing, the first one actually, I was turned
First one
off.
was pretty good.
I was turned
Second
off
one,
watching
nothing
it.
is.
And I was like, I don't know, but then I watched it and I liked it. But then the second one, I've heard nothing but bad things about it.
It was missing. It needs Bruce Campbell.
Well, I think a lot of it's because they.
It needs it. I need it.
Like, how many movies
Don't
do you
we
watch
all?
that are superhero movies where they cram as many villains in it, and it's
That's
too
yeah. That's
chaotic.
exactly
You
what.
can't
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah, that's a little too much. I mean, that's kind of the thing with like all of these superhero movies is putting in all of these villains and saying, okay, it's almost like they're booking a wrestling show. You know, it's like oh, WrestleMania.
What do we
This
got
one
on
is
the
going to
ticket?
fight this one, and this one
Yeah.
is going to fight this one, and we don't know what the girls are going to do, so we're just going to put all the girls all
Yep.
together. And, you know, and I mean, you got to develop. I mean, why you're watching a movie to go on a ride, right? You know,
Yeah.
from the beginning to the end, kind of like and this is why my ideal game is a story element game because I want to be taken on that ride because that's what's going to develop the memory.
Well, but if I may say, to your point, Civ, there's no story there. You make the story as you go. So I think there's something to be said
Yeah.
for the
But,
games
but
that.
that's also, but not only that. I mean, you point out it's a simulation game in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different type of simulation.
Yeah,
game,
like
but
Sims or
but
something
like
like
Sims
that. Yeah.
and SimCity, and those games are massively popular, and
Yeah.
massively well accepted. God knows, I wanted to play SimCity, the
Yeah.
new one. I still kind of do, but
Yeah.
it's just like I don't want to drop the online crap, which I know they got rid of.
They did get rid. Yeah. Well, they give you the option to not play online.
But I don't want to install Origin.
yeah, and you're kind of stuck. And I mean, the next Mass Effect you're gonna have to install Origin to do. It's
Not on console.
Well, not on console. We'll see.
That might
Because I
change
think
now,
That
yeah.
could change.
I don't, also because of Ubisoft with the Assassin's Creed, where you got to install
Ubisoft,
stupid
yeah, Uplay.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I mean,
How
yeah.
come people don't like Uplay? Because I haven't. I mean, I also haven't moved ahead with Uplay or anything. But really, like at the time of oh my god, I'm gonna go so far back. Assassin's Creed 2. That's when Uplay started, and really all it was
Really?
for me
Is
was
that old?
yeah. I only pressed like triangle, and then for certain things that I completed, I
Yeah.
started to get like, and this was this pre-trophies? No, it wasn't pre-trophies, but it was just like an extra award that you would get in the game for completing certain tasks. And I thought Uplay was cool then. What is different about Uplay now?
which is just it's another way to lock down your games.
Is it a client on PC? Is that
Yeah.
what you're talking about?
Yeah,
oh,
it's- it's like Steam.
okay, so I'm thinking on the console side.
Yeah.
On the console side, for me, it was just like a way to get rewards, and you just
Yeah, on the console side, I mean, it just seems like some sort of extra crap you got to deal with. At least from my vantage point, it's like, listen, I'm playing the game, I've got it ready to go. Just let me play the game.
I don't know. I like a reward system. I mean, trophies are awesome.
Yeah.
Trophies I love. I mean, I don't go and hunt trophies, but when I hear that chime, there's a big smile on my
Yeah.
face. I feel really accomplished, even though I don't know what the hell I just did. But
Yeah.
Uplay adds another dynamic to that, where I just press a button, and I say, okay, well, I accomplished this mission, this one, that got me this many points, and now I can have this in addition to my game that I don't have to pay for, like DLC. It's just like, here, you accomplished this
You
mission.
can
played
earn
this
DLC, is what you're saying?
Well,
If-
I mean,
if
it's
there's-
not
if there-
DLC. It's not something you could buy.
if
but
there's
you-
something
Yeah.
worthwhile, worth
Yeah.
working for, then
Yeah.
that makes sense. But
Not always.
if there's no point in it,
yeah.
No.
But here's an interesting question, because we've talked kind of broadly, sort of ideologically about what we would like to see out of games, but more specifically, I mean, are there certain genres that are you guys would lean more towards, or maybe not even genres, but settings, time periods, space, medieval stuff,
really
anything like
depends,
that?
Because honestly, I mean, I don't know. Because like me personally, it don't matter to me. I like sci-fi, but I've always not been a big fan of like clean cut sci-fi. Like Mass Effect, I like it, but it just like Star Wars and Star Trek. I mean, I can watch them. I enjoy them for what they are. But like, if I want to get really in depth with something, I don't know, grittiness to it, and I don't want to say like. Like how movies are, but just something that seems more realistic. Because to me, the clean
Like
cut
Firefly
sci-fi
or something.
does not seem
Shades of gray and not good
Yeah.
and evil.
yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
That just doesn't seem realistic to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like me personally, I can take sci-fi, I can take historic, I can go back. Because the new what is it? Order
1886.
that looks very interesting to me.
It does.
Yeah.
But
It does.
It,
I'm hearing a lot of bad things about its gameplay, though,
About the
even
gameplay
in the
and how it
previews,
looks and
which is
runs.
rare. Usually the previews are,
Well, it's all IGN and their bias, right?
of course.
That's all it
Everybody
is.
everybody who thinks anything about video games is biased somehow.
Yeah,
Everyone has
exactly.
their own opinion.
You know,
What? No, we
back
don't.
going back to different genres, you guys will laugh at first, but I think this is grounded. I think you'll agree.
Metal Gear Solid Revengeance.
No.
Metal Gear Solid.
One of my ideal games would be a full simulation wrestling game. Now, there's a reason for that. It's
Okay.
because wrestling games right now are categorized under a fighting game. When really wrestling has its own fictional strategies on how to go about beating somebody who's bigger than you, how to go about beating somebody that's faster than you. When you play something like Street Fighter or something like that, it's really simplified where if like you're a really big guy, you move slow, but you hit really hard, and you have to get really close, and then you could do moves like Zangief, stuff like that. Otherwise, there's different strategies for each fighter, right? Like if you're playing Mortal Kombat, Scorpion can close distance with the get over here. Sub-Zero's ability is to freeze you, keep you in place. Like everybody's got a strategy, but wrestling is this one place where it puts you in this one little environment in a ring, almost like in a sporting event. And you would think that UFC would be able to do that, but really UFC is just it's a mix. It's not all the same strategy because they're all different, walks of life, different martial arts. Where in wrestling they put you in this one over the top setting where everybody's a character, and everybody in UFC is fit. Where everybody in wrestling might not be, and that's the whole hook, is that you might have a giant versus like this little 5-foot guy who jumps around a lot, and then you might have a sumo wrestler, and you might have this guy who's really dead, like Undertaker, or the immortal Hulk Hogan, or the really hyper Ultimate Warrior that runs all over the place. But if you had a wrestling game that was a true, that's all he did. He just ran all over the place.
And scream.
He ran until his heart stopped, basically.
Oh,
Too soon.
is it? I don't know. I personally think it was the hairspray in his younger years. But I think if you took
I'm sorry, you bringing that up. Like my friends, a couple of my friends, they brought up. Thanks to them, this was years ago. This got used to freaking warrior speak. They literally would have conversations talking as the warrior.
No, I can't. I don't even have the
hilarious.
energy for that.
No, the best thing was one time we were playing Rock Band back when it was fun playing, and of course drinking. And they did I guess you did a battle, like vocal battle. I forgot what song it was, but they just said that's what they did. It was so funny. None of them had because it was all about pitch, but God, it was hilarious.
We should have like a warrior episode.
Yeah.
We just all talk like the warrior.
No, it was bad. They were like, "You don't know the power of power." They would do the whole like body language.
Oh, if I had the energy to do that a whole show,
man.
I don't think I could pull it off for a whole show. But
No.
an hour of that maybe would annoy the shit out of everybody else. But
Probably.
but okay, so wrestling, the thing is about the strategy, and it dawned on me when I played a friend who was just a button masher. He never played a wrestling game before, and he played one of the WWE games. It was a while ago, really far back. I think it was like a SmackDown versus Raw 2010. So like this was in 2009, and he was fighting me, and he was just button mashing. But he was actually beating me. It was Kane versus Undertaker, and because he was so unpredictable and didn't know what he was doing, I had no strategy or anything to get to him. So I got out of the ring. And I started to naturally, as if I was watching it on TV, well, this is what the wrestler would do. He would get out of the ring. And then he would walk around, and he would kind of goad him into like, yeah, come after me. You think you're winning? You think you're going to beat me up? Come on, come after me. And then he comes out, and then I run inside, and then he runs inside, and I start beating him up because he just had to like slide inside, and he was totally vulnerable. And I was like, this would be really cool if fighting games had those kinds of strategy. I don't know, what else could do it, like a different fighting game, but when you really have that strategy where you're trying to weaken a person, put him into a submission hold, weaken a limb, and then later on he tries to pick you up and he just collapses from the weight. Things like that, something that's more drawn out. Because you play Street Fighter, you play Mortal Kombat, your fight's over in about 5 to 10 minutes. If you have a simulation wrestling game and and WWE games right now don't really fit that bill. From what I understand, they're about to. They're trying to get in that direction. But a wrestling game that's really a simulation, and it's like what you see on TV, 15 minutes is like a mid-tier match. And something that's like major would take like 30 to 40 minutes of like all strategy and how you're going to wear this guy down and how you're going to take him down. And I think that is a blast. That is
Like
a
the old
total
school,
blast.
like the old school, like cage or ladder matches.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Is that,
I just feel like that whole like fighting a giant. I think it would be so cool. Actually, one of the Let's Plays that I did, even though I lost and it was my worst performance ever, it was Rey Mysterio against Undertaker trying to defeat the Streak.
Yeah.
And every time I was like, and I remember in the beginning of the video, I was like, I'm going to do good against this guy. I'm going to do it because now I can jump around, I could springboard, he's not going to see me coming or whatever. And then the moment I get an advantage, he hits me with something and I just get a little bit of distance and I'm like, all right, and I run to the top rope and then I go to jump on him, he just catches me with all of his power and just throws me down. I was like, oh. And I knew that it was trouble then. But even though it was me getting hurt, it felt so good to see like, I tried to use the speed. I tried to use this jumping ability that he doesn't have. He won't be able to do as well. And using his power, he just grabbed me and smashed me down and made me feel it. So to me, at least, I understand that different genres. I would say, there's got to be an ideal game for each genre because I like many.
Yeah.
If we were going to go into the fighting game genre, a cerebral, strategic simulation wrestling game, I think would be awesome for fighting. I think even people who just like fighting games that don't like wrestling, I think would really dig that.
Yeah, I'd be into that. I'm not real big into watching the wrestling or anything like that. But.
Well, that's because you wouldn't get that from watching the wrestling. Is the sad thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite true.
Yeah.
yeah. Ideal is The Crew the ideal racing game?
No. But I'm really excited about it.
Well, what would so can we? Are there any games out there that? I mean, if we take our own kind of personal feeling, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
If we take our own personal, like, what is the game out there that comes closest to being ideal for the? I guess, like, if you could just walk up to somebody and say, "Here, play this," that it's going to be able to grab them and that they're going to be able to play it.
I've already
What comes
spoiled
closest
it.
to
I've
that?
already spoiled it and said that's going to be The Last of Us.
Oh, bullshit!
It depends.
It's
on,
not.
It depends on the person for me. It depends on because I have friends like Will, or a dude that we call him, and he's more into action. No,
He's a dude.
Yeah, he
Dude.
It's so
abides.
funny, because, dude. But like he likes more action based games. He likes story, but he likes action based games. He loves the Assassin's Creed section, but I'm not going to go to him and be like, play this game because you're going to love it. Because if I know, like, say, I come to a friend that I know that likes really in-depth story or just like is very methodical, I'd probably say, try BioShock or something like that. Because BioShock left a massive imprint in my head.
Yep.
Because I played through it on PS3, Xbox 360, and computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Gotcha.
Mass Effect for me. Every platform it came out on, I got Mass Effect on and played it. I'm waiting for PC. I haven't done that yet.
You just have to get it then.
Yeah.
But it depends on the person and their playstyle.
I think if I put a controller in anybody's hand with Last of Us that has not seen it before, or even open up a YouTube video and show them that opening sequence where you're the kid and you're looking for your dad.
Yeah, that opening.
And then
Yeah,
he
the
runs
rest of
in
the
and,
game's not
that whole opening sequence,
I think you might depress some people.
Yeah.
I mean, people that weren't
And
gamers
turn
were
them
showing
off a
me
little bit.
videos of The Last of Us before, before I managed to get it, because I didn't get it day one.
Because if you're not playing it, it's great.
Well, yeah. Well, and that's that's why they're making a movie,
Yeah.
and they should because it's a
And Neil
movie
Druckmann
that you
is
can play.
involved.
Yeah,
it's-
that's why their stage performance was so great, because
Yeah.
you didn't have to play it.
Yeah. Well,
Well, I'm still skeptical because I don't know. Nowadays, I kind of agree with the fact that I think there are games better with story than movies.
Yes.
Movies is so compressed, and
I definitely agree.
that's what makes me worried about them making that a movie. Because how long of a game that is?
They're doing the same thing with Uncharted.
Well, they've been trying to for years.
Well, they're doing it with WoW. The WoW one's done, isn't it?
No, but it was WoW.
How are they gonna do that?
Actually,
That doesn't make sense.
I read about
Tetris.
It.
A Tetris movie?
They're making
Yeah.
a Tetris movie.
Actually, no, I am very curious about it because you just brought up a good point. I read an article talking about they did finally show footage of a Warcraft, not WoW, just Warcraft is what it was being called, and this is endorsed by Blizzard. And what they talked about what they showed makes me very interested in the future of video game movies. Because I mean, think about it. In the past, how many good video game movies are there?
that's actually based on a video game property.
Correct.
Yeah,
not a movie to video game, but a video game.
Mario
to
Brothers, Super Mario.
Oh yeah, just epic.
The first Mortal
John
Kombat.
Leguizamo
It was
is not Italian.
Well, okay.
He doesn't even have a
The
mustache.
first Mortal Kombat was fun.
It was
Yeah.
fun and okay, but I'm talking one that could probably draw lots of people and also leave a lasting mark that people also review it. All people can review
Okay,
it very
let's
good.
Metal
talk
Gear.
about draw, because video games that turn movies have a lot of potential to draw. I don't think there's. Maybe Resident Evil isn't a success. Maybe all of these video games to movies haven't been a success. But I think that has more to do with its with the fact that they're not good.
Yeah.
Well,
so there's
but
no
they
word
keep
of
making
mouth.
Resident Evil games.
So there's no word of
movies.
mouth, but also because we already know as gamers that if a movie's going to be made based on a video game, it's not going to be good. We already know. So then we wait for what people think of it, and then they say it's not good, and we say, okay, we're not going to go. But the draw, I mean, Xbox 360 and PS3 combined, just those two units, is 160 million units. All right, so maybe a couple of them fail, and so people are rebuying these units, and so maybe the install base is even half of that, 80 million. If 80 million people are going to the movie theater to see a video game movie, that is a freaking successful movie.
But here's my point though: like you can see a trailer, or you can see stills to a movie, and you can generally right off the bat tell based off a video game. I'm going to go in and always have kind of that like cautiousness to it, knowing this. But once I'll give it to a certain point. Like, hell, I gave me and my friend were talking about the new Star Wars movie, and he was like, I'm not going to see it. I was like, dude, have you read or heard anything about what they're doing with this? And he's like, no. And I said, they're using almost no CG.
Yeah.
Everything's built. And I was like, you got to wait until the trailer to give it any form of credit.
Yeah.
Because that's what I said. Once I see that trailer, will be when I know if I'm going to see it. Same with a video game movie. I might see stills. I might be hearing about things, but I'll give it a chance until I see that trailer. Once I see that trailer, if I'm hooked, I'm hooked. Like Resident Evil, I was so wanting them to do it justice, and then once I actually went and saw it, I was like, this is absolutely horrible. But that's why I'm very curious about, because I think it was San Diego Comic-Con. They did that panel. They didn't show it. It's not been leaked on YouTube, but they did show what they're doing, and it's not going to be just, humans versus orcs. It's both sides. But both sides are showing kind of reasons why they don't want to fight. Like, it goes on a human, and even though he's killing and doing what he has to, my son's growing up, but I'm never getting to see him. Mm-hmm. Even though I'm doing this to protect him, I'm never seeing him. And then it goes back to like an orc on this, and he goes, I'm doing this to attack and trying to survive, but what am I turning myself into because doing this? And that's what really appeals to me, is the in-depth character to this. If you can prove to the point, even though it's a movie about war and a movie about opposing factions that are of course always going to be hate, but you're giving their points of view on things and how almost that they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It becomes an art piece.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's what Valiant Hearts
And that's
was.
my problem.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I think video game movies have always missed, is people are always missing the point that don't do it because it's money, or don't do it because try to make it as what it deserves to be, an art piece. Same with superhero movies.
Yeah.
They don't give it the credit they needed. That's why the Avengers and Iron Man did it so well, is because they knew what it was going to be. And the Dark Knight trilogy.
And we had this discussion very briefly in a roundtable when we had Jessica Sanders here too.
Who?
Jessica Sanders.
Who?
And we talked about bridging that generational gap.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we have. A lot of people in Hollywood, at least people at the point that are investing into these movies, maybe directors and stuff, they're not gamers. And so their view on games is games are toys.
Yeah.
And so you see something like Resident Evil that is very serious, and it's a horror game, and it's rated M for mature. There are no kids that are supposed to be playing that, right? Right. So,
Because we totally, we totally abided by that, right?
Yeah.
When it first came out.
yeah, I had Mortal Kombat with no blood. I didn't know the blood code.
Oh, yeah,
What
sure.
you're talking
Didn't know
about.
that blood.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
the first thing I did.
But
I'll
the thing
admit it,
is, yeah, they look at video games as toys that kids play, that kids play with, and then when a movie concept is made, they think this is going to be a great moneymaker because it's geared towards kids. right? So Pixar movies, all that, any cartoon, Disney, anything that's geared towards kids, they all of a sudden get the dollar signs and they're like, oh yeah, kids are going to bug their parents to come and see this. But Resident Evil is not a toy. Resident Evil is this gruesome, at least it started as not a toy. Now, to me, it kind of is. But
It's a parody of itself.
but you look at the movie and you look at the game and you say, wow, the game takes itself way more seriously than the movie does.
Oh, yeah.
You just made a point. I mean, they don't take it serious.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's just there to entertain the kids. Like Mortal Kombat, I mentioned it before, Mortal Kombat was fun to watch, but it
Yeah.
had no depth whatsoever. It was just fun to watch these guys, do their kung fu.
Yeah.
But that's about
Kind of
it.
like what they tried to do with Street Fighter movie. God.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the Van Damme.
Yeah.
I just facepalmed.
But
I just
But
facepalmed.
I mean, that's a point. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a good point.
He's
But
supposed
also,
to be
but-
American. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme playing Guile. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
But,
it really doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
but you
anyway.
pointed out also in the Hollywood period as it is right now. That's why they're making all remakes. Because people say, "Oh, there's no original thoughts out there." It's not that. It's because there's already a step. Like they're remaking Point Break.
Yeah.
Did you know about that?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of remake, but it's okay because video games are doing the same thing.
But-
And in fact, we're even worse in video games because now we're starting to do remasters of stuff that came out a year ago or 2 years ago. So
But I mean, that's the point, though, is because it's already an established franchise. They already have money attached to it. Even though people from 20 years ago know what Point Break is, but teenagers nowadays don't. So they'll think, oh, okay, we'll just remake it with new people. That'll get more kids to come out and see it. Plus, the people that already know it will go out and see it. Even though there's a ton of people that'll be like,
Yeah.
"They're remaking it. Screw that."
Kind of like that Red Dawn
There are-
movie not too long ago.
Exactly.
there are two movies, possibly just one, but there are two movies that I feel can change all of that. Uncharted is not one of them. I'm mentioning Uncharted because Uncharted
know.
as a game is a lighthearted game. So I feel that it'll be true to itself if it's a lighthearted movie.
Yeah.
However, Neil Druckmann, as a writer, as a creator for The Last of Us, I think he's pretty much proven that not only does he take himself seriously in video games, but he also takes himself seriously, period. When we saw that live that live show of some of the scenes at The Last of Us, I basically understood from him that he was grounded. It was very serious. And what kind of performance he expected from anybody. Because, yeah, they're talented, but you need somebody on top to tell you exactly what emotions you're portraying, tell you what's good and what's bad. And I think Neil Druckmann being involved in the Last of Us movie, I think that's really going to turn heads because I feel that movie is going to take itself seriously. It's going to give justice to the game, which is what all gamers complain about when they go to see a movie rendition of a video game or a movie adaptation. And when you go and you see Last of Us, and people who don't play the video game say, "Wow, that was a really great movie," potentially, and gamers who go up there and like, "Wow, that was exactly what I expected, and it was awesome." I think that will change Hollywood's tune and be like, "Ooh."
Well, not only that, though. You said he's attached as a writer. Is there anyone attached as director and also actors?
I don't know who it was.
Because
but I
you
remember
need,
being-
not only that, you need people that are going to be able to take the source material true to, I mean, they need to have fun with it and be able to enjoy what they're doing,
Yeah.
but also they need to be able to take it seriously and also take it to heart.
Right.
Because that's the problem with, like, Resident Evil. You had a person like Paul W.S. Anderson that all he cared about was making money. He didn't give a shit about the story. He's supposedly said he played the games. He didn't play the games.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, it was blatant in the movies. And if you ever watch his stuff prior to that, he was the one, if I remember, he was the one that did the first Mortal Kombat. Which, I mean, honestly, has
may
nothing
have.
to do with the fucking game.
But if Neil Druckmann's on the team, it's a team. There's going to be discussion
But
there.
like I said, I mean, the writer has so much power, but then if you bring in a director that has his head up his ass, and if the studio gives him too much power, he can redo
Yeah.
rewrites left
Because
and right.
Druckmann's not funding the
Naughty
picture.
Dog
And
is part of that. I mean,
I'm
you got to
sure-
remember
I'm
that there's
sure-
still rights involved. If Neil Druckmann's not happy, and he's saying, and he goes to Naughty Dog and says, "Hey, they're going to make this movie. And it's really going to hurt
Well,
our franchise.
but-
Let's pull out
Well, it depends
and just
on,
pay them the money." They'll do it.
Well, it depends on how much controlling factor that Naughty Dog has too. Because
Yeah.
if Naughty Dog has a large amount of controlling factor, then yes, there's a good chance of it. But
Well, of
there's
course they
still
do.
the
They own
chance.
it.
There's still
Well,
the
it
chance.
doesn't-
Well, just because they own it doesn't necessarily mean they have a
We don't
large
know what
amount
the
of
details of the
controlling power
contract
of the
are.
movie.
Yeah.
It just depends on a couple factors, but I think one of the big factors is the director, because a lot of
Yeah.
directors will love the source material and also are very vocal and keep with the script and the script writers right there beside them, just like, hey,
Yeah.
let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's watch this to follow it. And then there's the ones that just don't give a shit,
Yeah.
that want to see their vision of it, and that's what they do with it.
And screenwriting is different than writing for a video game. So
Yeah.
you can be very talented as a writer, but I mean,
honestly, Last of Us really plays like a movie. If you
Yeah.
cut out all the actual gameplay parts out of it, it's
Yeah.
a movie.
yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can speak to that pretty well, can't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to put something together called Gamer Cinema, but it takes a lot of time and it's a lot of editing, and I'm still not really that good at it. So when I look back at it and I go, oh, that's not exactly how I wanted it to come out. But I have a couple of unlisted videos. I'm not going to upload it till I know that I can get it all done.
Right.
But I did actually. It's funny because I watched it today while I was in the office. I was eating lunch. I said, let me see one of these Gamer Cinemas and see what I think. And yeah, it's totally a film. It's like you're playing through a film. And yeah, there are the gameplay elements that are long and drawn out, especially the stealth parts. And sometimes they're frustrating, and you end up having to like backtrack and trying to figure out where you're going to go. And I mean that screws things up. It screws that flow up. But if you're not doing anything like that, you know exactly where you need to go, and you're really good at the game, and you never get caught or whatever, it's totally a freaking movie. It's
And that kind of begs the question a little bit, like, as a gamer, somebody who has recently played through The Last of Us, am I super excited to see this movie come out and go watch it? Well, yeah, but only because I want to see, how well it does.
right.
Really, I mean, it's not. It's
For a gamer's curiosity.
Exactly. I'm not going to enjoy it more than the experience I had with it. It would be, maybe I'm trying to support it so that, maybe more video game movies will be made the right way, assuming that it is. But then again, I mean, when you talk about something like this, writing is a huge part of The Last of Us, but you also have to look to the voice actors like Troy Baker.
Incredible. And a stage performer, apparently.
And,
So,
I mean, he's not going to be playing Joel in the movie. No. There's no way. And, there's going to be a drop-off.
It'll be Brad Pitt.
Well, then it's over. Now, the second movie that I was going to mention, and I don't even know if it's still being made, because I remember that it was dropped off, but then I heard that it was still on, Metal Gear. A Metal Gear Solid movie with Hideo Kojima involved.
I got excited.
You mean don't you mean pretty much the game, because it is a movie?
No, I don't know. Yeah, Metal Gear aged really poorly. I was trying to do like a whole playthrough of like all the games again, and it's really difficult. It's really difficult on me. I'm just like, I'm not having fun.
Like, how are you talking about the Solid series?
I'm trying to do it chronologically.
Does anybody notice how Amir's ideal games and best upcoming movies are the same? Metal Gear and Last of Us?
No. And that's yes, and that's because, like what I said, my ideal game is a game that leaves an impression, and it does so through story.
Yeah.
It's something that makes you self-reflect. It's something that influences your life.
Yeah.
And otherwise, it's just
So for you, those were those games?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I go and I play games to kill time, but sometimes, you go to play a game to kill time, and it really shapes, how you think about things. I can't play the beginning of The Last of Us or see it because I saw the gamers and everything. I can't see the beginning without crying, and I have to leave. I have to actually leave the office so that nobody sees me tearing up. And there's a lot of movies out there, most movies, that do not make me react that way. And it's because I'm in that situation. So I think video games, because they're interactive, are the perfect ones to be able to have those really strong narratives. And because it's not Hollywood, you can have things like L.A. Noire, major spoiler. You can have things like L.A. Noire, where the hero... Oh, did you not play it?
Play it. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Where the protagonist actually dies. And it's actually a bad ending. And you're like, did I do something wrong? What did I do?
No.
And you didn't do anything wrong. It's a video game. The good guy doesn't have to win.
Well, I guess I can't. Okay. Never mind. You might have needed. You might want to. No, it's gone. It's there's something to be said too about you really don't need to do that.
Okay, cool. Everyone thinks
games that are really get you into the story and really stick with you. I mean, when I think about my favorite games from the past, those are the games that, and because of that, a lot of them are like old RPGs and stuff like that, and a lot of that comes from you've spent 50 some odd hours in this world being this person. And when, especially at the endings of games, when it all finally culminates into something, it's so much more than a movie can ever be.
Yeah, way more. And you're so much more emotionally invested.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also been a very long time. I mean, nobody's going to sit there and watch a 50-hour movie.
No.
You know? But as a game, because it's interactive, you'll be in that world for 50 hours. And then when it ends, you're like, well, what a freaking ride.
Now what do I do?
Yeah. Boot it up.
Find another one.
Oh, man. Wow, this ended up becoming more about movies than about our ideal video game, I guess.
Well,
You're welcome.
that worked out.
Well, that's fine, though. But
Ooh, Destiny movie's coming out soon.
say what?
No.
No. Please.
They put all the story into that.
Yeah. There isn't a lot. It's just
No Peter
flashing
Dinklage,
screens
though.
of guns
No Peter
and
Dinklage.
cutscenes that nobody watches.
No, wait, I take that back. Peter Dinklage is doing the live action acting for the Ghost. I'm serious.
What?
He's in the
He's
ghost.
just like flying around you all the time.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, that's just a funny mental
Actually, I
picture.
saw
to
a
me.
comic that someone said something about like they wish they would have approached it more like Halo. It shows Peter Dinklage as Cortana, and it's like his actual.
Oh, I never thought about that. I never thought about how the ghost is basically Cortana.
Oh.
Yeah, or Navi.
No.
No.
Navi's just annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. There's some Vex over there. Hey, listen.
Watch out.
That stranger signal is coming in again.
This is going to take
Well,
some
I'll
time.
never mention it again. Just to let you know, there's more Vex coming. More Hive coming.
So now
And
I'll
Fallen.
work faster.
I'll work faster. Listen.
Oh, man.
UFC targeting.
Link, what?
All right, let's.
Anyway.
I would say let's go around the table.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's really going to work in this case, because going around the table to ask what's your ideal video game? We'll just start all over again.
We've already kind of done that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you want to do like what? Well, I know we've already done what we think is closest.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of ran through all the possible around the table questions.
You want to bring back the old, what games are you playing besides Destiny? Wrap up, sort of?
I'm not. Are you? Are you playing anything besides Destiny? No, we're not. So that doesn't work. Shit. That does not work.
I did.
What TV show or book you are game whenever it's not
What do you do after you play Destiny? Go to sleep. That's because it's 3 a.m. and I'm still playing.
Yeah.
The only thing that stops me from playing Destiny is disconnects.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
Because you guys are saying like you didn't before we were
Not
talking
really.
about it, you guys said that you didn't have any
Not really.
disconnects. I did look. I forgot which website it is. One of the news sites that I use for sources for the gaming news in 2 minutes. One of the sources that I use has like this little thing where like they keep a running review. Is it IGN or GameSpot? Anyway, they have a running
Both.
review of
Those
it, and it
both.
has like this little meter, and it tells you what the status of the
Server?
of the servers are. And it started with good at first at launch, and then it spilled into moderate. And now I'm kind of feeling that because I could play and not have any problems with Destiny at all. Once I get to a certain point of time at night, on the weekend it happens a little bit more often, but it's not so bad. But once I get to a certain point at night, it just shuts off on me, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's time to go to bed.
I tell you what,
It might be depending on traffic or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's hard to
We'll think about
it's
it.
hard to imagine that a whole bunch of people are getting on at 2 a.m.
Well, it's not. Well, but I
You can
mean,
also factor in like over
'Cause even
the West Coast or something.
Well, yeah, the West
Yeah.
Coast would be 11 p.m. They'd be on. That's not prime time. They'd be on before that.
we don't necessarily have to wrap up this way, and we should probably keep it pretty short, but I didn't read the article. And what's up with The Last Guardian now?
Yeah, saying
Diligently.
the same shit they've been saying for years.
that's the ideal game right there.
The Last,
Last
Guardian,
Guardian.
it never comes out.
That's it.
That game
Straight to
has
movie.
absolutely no way of being good.
No, it'll
I mean,
be
it has a way
good.
of being
It won't
good,
be-
but it's not going to meet expectations.
Yeah, it'll be well.
Well, the expectations are going to be
I have to
way
admit,
too
To
high.
be honest, no. I think a lot of people's expectations are below that now. I think they
Yeah.
rolled
Yeah.
it off because they've expected that it's not
Yeah.
even going to happen.
And then,
now.
and
Right,
then, like,
yeah.
that's what
They did say
everybody-
re-reveal was the words that Shuhei used.
All I'm
Re-reveal.
going to say
It
is
was re-reveal.
everyone's kind of down on it and beating it up. That's
Yeah.
where I think that's where it's going to be.
Maybe that's what they were. That's what they were waiting for this whole time.
People are going to lose their mind. That's what I hope. That's what I hope.
I believe in the
Because
people
maybe
who are
I'm
making the
opposite of
game,
what
so
everyone else
we'll
does.
see.
Yeah, but I mean, I tried to go back to Eco,
Well, I mean, that's a.
and then
that's
I
a
realized
really-
I was
that's an
smashing
early
shadows with a
PlayStation 2 game.
2x4, and I was like, oh, this is pretty bad.
It's a really, 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 really
Well, look
old
at,
game.
look
though.
at Shadow of the
It was a
Colossus.
lot of fun when it
I
first
haven't
came
played
out.
it still.
It's fun.
But I mean,
fun.
that's a fan favorite. People still talk about it, and
Yeah.
like all it is what all is really in depth about that. And then it turns
Yeah.
out it's a depressing as shit story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are kind of
Yeah.
kind of sad.
But but if Last Guardian ends up having a compelling story that is memorable,
Ooh,
And it will.
it's going to be immersive too.
and if it's immersive,
I mean, they're a very artistic team,
yep.
and I love anything.
I anticipate.
And if you're
purple
afraid,
dildos.
I'm trying to tick off all of Amir's boxes here.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Though. I think everyone's down on it because it's been coming out for so long, and there's not been anything about it. So
Yeah.
people have been bashing it. So it's all kind of like your expectations are here.
Is it still
I don't
just
think
that one little?
See, I don't think it's
trailer?
really that they bash it. I haven't really seen anybody bash it.
I'm
There's
talking
nothing to
about how
bash,
it's
really.
constantly being pushed back and constantly, no, it's a running gag.
Yeah.
That's a better
Yeah,
way to
That's
say it.
true.
Yeah,
It's
it
the
is.
concept that it's a gag and people are constantly pushing that. That's what I think is that everyone's expectations are so low.
like Oprah.
Then they'll reveal it and then
I don't think the expectations
prize.
are low though, because if you re-reveal it, it becomes a game that's been if they re-reveal it next year, it's a game that's been in development for 10
I shouldn't
years.
Have, I shouldn't have brought up the Last Guardian.
Now we're going to go on for another 20 minutes.
Yeah,
all I got to point
I'm
out
sorry.
is Duke Nukem
That's
Forever.
I'll shut up.
That's all I got to say. Is Duke Nukem Forever. They re-revealed that
Oh yeah,
Well,
more than like 20 times.
that is very true. And
Which one?
it was really
Duke Nukem
bad.
Forever.
it was not.
It was literally.
I never expected
played
Duke
okay.
Nukem to be good. Period.
Exactly.
No.
And still, it's just the concept of it. I mean, they constantly, as soon as a new engine came out, they're like, let's use this
Redo
engine.
it, yeah.
There's
But
a
they
sticker
re-revealed
underneath
it,
my
so-
chair.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
probably what happened to Titan.
Titan?
The MMO.
Oh, the wow.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think a lot of it's I don't know. I think Blizzard. It depends on how they're running it now because they are very much a perfectionist company.
Yeah.
But then I think they're still backed by Activision.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I blame Diablo 3, the original part, is
Yeah.
because of Activision.
Wait, well, quick question. How often are you reminded that that Activision published Destiny?
Constantly.
No, but I mean in-game.
Nah,
Not at all.
Not at all.
No.
It's all about
Exactly.
Bungie.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's because it's a name. I think Activision is banking on that name.
Mm-hmm.
I think Activision understands that Bungie is a massive freaking name. That it's right now PlayStation is the winning console, so
Yeah.
I mean it's a big draw to see Bungie on your screen and you're
Exactly.
playing on a PlayStation
Yeah,
because you always
exactly.
wanted Halo,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, Bungie's on my PlayStation.
It is a very weird thing as a Sony gamer.
Wouldn't you want association with that though? So like it's not even at the initial
No,
start
I
screen.
think-
It doesn't even
I-
flash
I think
up
it's
there
very
real quick.
smart. I think it's very smart that they're not.
'cause they don't
Well,
have
it's all
attached to,
over the
Call of
cover of
Duty
the
and
game,
stuff
too,
like that, so
but,
they've got that
you know,
one
once you
niche
get in game,
where
it's
people
gone.
kind of bash them about.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's extremely smart about them.
Yeah,
I mean,
think it
hell,
is.
look at like Blizzard. WoW and all the Blizzard company. As soon as Activision came into the picture, that's where everything started to drop off. If you
I mean,
look at
Activision isn't far off from Electronic Arts as far as how gamers perceive them. I mean, they're a very big
they-
publisher. They like to release franchises annually.
Yeah.
They're,
Yeah,
They
exactly.
like to make of that money.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they know business. We
Yeah.
can complain all we want about Electronic Arts and Activision.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that regardless of whether you like or dislike what direction they take their games in,
Right.
they are freaking successful for a reason.
Yep.
They know the business. They know exactly what they're doing. And we might not like it as core gamers. Like I played Mass Effect 2, and then to Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 2 was the greatest. 3 simplified. People complained about it. But more
Too
people,
simplified, actually.
But I mean, more people got into it,
Yeah.
and you had that bigger, broader fan base. You had all of that media coverage over the ending. They know their business. Mass Effect is a major franchise, and you know what? I'll bet you anything that now Mass Effect 4 has even more money thanks to that.
Yeah.
We probably get a much better game because of it.
I still was just surprised that Activision just stepped away from their branding completely on that and just let it be Bungie. Or if it was part of the contract that when Bungie signed on, it's just like this is going to be.
I think
like
I
don't. We
I think
want
it's a
this is going to
business
be
move.
ours.
I think it's a business move because when people see Activision, they think about Activision and like their other licenses. But when people see Bungie,
Yeah,
They
but
think-
that's the thing.
they think about that
exactly.
quality.
When you want that positive association, though, do you think it's going to take away from Destiny if Activision is
More of
up
the
there,
upfront.
right there? Yeah, if it's like Activision or Activision,
Well, I don't-
Bungie.
I don't-
Actually,
I don't
yes,
think
do.
it's-
Actually, I do.
I don't think
But
it's something
I
that
do
they've
right
been trying
now.
to hide either.
I do right now because I think all the Bungie fans would be upset to see Activision and then play Destiny and see that there are some things that are limited in there and be like, oh, it's all Activision.
Yeah, but Microsoft was in.
I
front
will
of-
bet you anything that you'll see
Halo.
Destiny 2 and you'll see Activision a little bit more. Because Destiny is this successful and that many people like it.
I don't know. It depends. It just,
I think
Yeah,
they're going to start putting their name into it.
I don't think
well,
they will.
Well, here's the thing, though. Like,
I think it's part of the.
Because that's a
brand of
big
Bungie.
draw.
but going to Blizzard, Activision is not on any of their games, even though they own. You don't
Yeah.
see anything.
No, it's
Well,
not on there. But EA's in
I'm
front of
sure there's a
BioWare,
business
isn't it?
reason for it. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a business reason because EA also pretty much had the same, what's the word, ideals as Activision. They function very similarly. They are two of the biggest publishers out there.
Yeah.
EA is all over the place, and then we see all the complaints about EA.
Yeah.
Activision is not branding everything. We don't see as many complaints, even
Well,
though they
on
both function almost the same
Destiny,
way.
but everything else is in Blizzard, but yeah.
I don't know. Does Call of Duty? It's been a while. Does Call of Duty say Activision? all over it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, and let's not forget that the cover of the Destiny game says from the people who made Halo and the people who brought you Call of Duty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the draw too. If you look at Destiny as far as how it's marketed, we all talk about it. The whole media talks about it.
Yeah.
How it feels more like it's a game made for PlayStation because they're branding it that hard. And that's what it is. It's Bungie now available on PlayStation.
Yeah, Sony's pushing that real hard, and actually, in part of that same interview where he talks about Last Guardian, he talks about how the interviewer asked him about there's not a whole lot of first party stuff coming out. It seems like you're pushing these third parties, and just like, well, we're not too concerned about that because we can make the case that it's better, that this is the best place for those third party games,
Right.
and they did that very well, very successfully with Destiny.
Yeah.
And Activision and Bungie were like, okay, sure, whatever, that we'll go along with that, and he listed off things like, well, maybe the resolution is better, or maybe it's the interface is you like that better, or whatever it is. But you focus on those things. You say this is the best place to play those things, and that seems to be and that'll work until it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, there's just more
And maybe
PS4s out there.
And maybe that's the Bungie thing. These guys are the best at shooters. And
Yeah, but they haven't made a shooter. When was the last time? Like, what was it? Reach
Halo Reach.
was
But
7?
I'll be honest.
8?
I'll be honest. Reach was my absolute favorite one.
Yeah, but
4 was very mediocre in my opinion.
Because
sorry, I know I'm totally hogging up, but Halo is always going to be associated with Bungie, even though 343 Studios are the ones making it now.
yeah.
It's always going to be associated with Bungie. So if you think about it, it's like, yeah, they haven't made a Halo in a long time, but you've seen Halo nonstop since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So every single time it's Halo, 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 everybody's head rings with Bungie, 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 Bungie. And now
Well, everybody in
Destiny
the
comes out on
industry
PlayStation, it's like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like every time a Halo or something comes out on Xbox One comes out,
Yeah.
for Halo, it's kind of marketing Destiny.
Actually,
Well, I don't know.
I'm guessing because I know Microsoft owns the original trilogy. I'm sure they have to have like royalties towards Bungie because Bungie was the original creators.
Depends on how the contract was structured.
Especially like the Master Chief Collection that's about to come out.
I think that
That's going to be big.
I think
Yeah,
that
the
sometimes a
remastered Halo
publisher
2.
will take ownership of an IP, and I think that's really what's happening here. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they might have had to sign over all their rights or something like that.
yeah,
Because Halo was originally going to be released on the Mac, and then Microsoft bought Bungie.
Yeah, it was going to be a PC.
Really?
Yeah.
That was a close call.
That's why, because Microsoft was creating the Xbox and they needed something to be a first party to release for it.
Yeah.
No. That was the smartest thing because that was one that was revolutionary for shooters on console.
Yeah.
Because shooters on console was always laughable until Halo.
Well, I mean, the best examples of shooters prior to that were GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and that was a whole generation before, and
Time Splitters. Nope, too late.
well, I mean, that was the same. That was a lot of the same team from Perfect Dark, and Time Splitters was good, but it
Need some Time
It still
Splitters
wasn't
too.
revolutionary.
it wasn't. It didn't have a compelling. It didn't have a compelling campaign. It was
had
good
great
multiplayer.
multiplayer.
It was great multiplayer, but it didn't have a compelling campaign. And whether or not you think that the story was great, because the original Halo, there are arguments on both sides about how good that story is or isn't, and it definitely has spawned a whole lot of fiction behind it, and a whole universe, and not just the games, but books and comics and things like that, and TV series
Attempts
now,
at
and
TV series.
yeah.
Channels.
So
That are all canon?
regardless. I don't know if it's all canon.
Well, I think Forward to Dawn was canon, but I think that TV series, I don't know.
But in any event, you have that. It was a seminal game, so yeah, kind of lost my train of thought there because we're running long.
Yeah, sorry. All right, so we can't go around the table because we pretty much asked those questions.
Tetris.
And attempted to answer them.
I think Tetris would be the game that you give it to somebody, anybody, doesn't matter, and they'll be able to play it and enjoy it. Tetris.
Yeah, Tetris is. Man, old school Game Boy with Tetris, it's like, you're
Like
set
you
for
could go
life.
up to anybody with an old Game Boy and just say, like, here, play this,
Yeah.
and they'll be able to figure it out.
I would lose my shit too. They'd be like,
Especially with how mobile games are now, because, that's, if you think about it.
That's what it is.
Bejeweled and
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And they're all building off that. Anyway,
Well,
I think that's
I was going to say, since we can't go around the table, we'll shoot the question to you guys. Your ideal video game. If you want to write a book about your ideal video game, be as detailed as you like, as short as you like. We'd love to hear what you think. What would be your ideal video game? Multiple genres? Have at it. Let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Yep. Civilization all the way down to Destiny in one game. If that's your thing, tell us about it.
Is that your thing?
Well, it's just one thing I was thinking about.
Oh.
It's like you have those those layers. Like Rise of Nations was a good kind of mix
Like cake?
between.
I love
like parfaits.
Rise of Nations was
Starting
really
to get
good.
hungry.
Yeah.
All I remember is playing multiplayer games, and when it was always a rush to like specific. As soon as Jason is building Terracotta Army, another room. Fuck you, Jason.
So there you go.
All right.
All right.
Good
Well,
deal.
with that,
Put a bow on it.
that's right.
That's a wrap.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Later.
Ah.